Hello everyone! We are going to present you the all-new Expivi Showcase user interface. This new user interface will provide you with a more easy-to-use flow. What we have done with the new UI inside the showcase is to separate each management of each part into separate sections. Whereas in the previous version, everything that was available to a scene or added to a scene was available at a single place. So to manage, for example, lights, the views, the product, everything was within a single tab. And to make it more clear and easier to understand, for the users we have separated all of the different elements of scene into different sections. So the very basics of the showcase itself, the scene where the customer can navigate and the toolbars have stayed the same. The first thing that has changed is how the showcase settings are managed. So the settings of a scene, we had Manage Scene Settings that was available as an option under the settings. We have created a new toolbar to manage the scene settings. So the new buttons are placed at the top right section of the showcase. This provides you with all of the settings to manage the templates to manage the scene, and also the management of the layers. So various areas in the previous version, we had different layers that could be created for a product. The default layer, the inside layer. And the management of the layers under the product nodes to manage the different layers has been moved to the top right of the layer management component, which provides you the same management tool to do the management of layers. To select a new layer, select the layer that is applicable to the ones that is currently applied, and everything inside the views, lights, UX that will belong to that layer will be updated to present the layer that is active. Going through every section of what we have in the new application or in the new UI. Previously, we had the product node, which was always the root node inside the hierarchy. In the new version, we have the product node as a first tab, which allows you to also add subproducts. In the previous version, that was as part of the inserts to insert a new subproduct. The management of the product position. There are two new features to change the sizing of the product. So if you have drawn your product originally in inches or in meters, you can change that inside the showcase to present to you the correct scaling. To also have a reference of how large or small each product is, we have also added references so that you can compare what the size of a product is and change the product size accordingly to present the real-world sizing. Also, under the Product tab, we have all of the options that are available on the product, which makes it possible to change the configuration of a product in real time and change the options. This is also presented inside the Product tab. We have added a new tab to manage the materials. In the previous version of the previous tab, there was no real section to manage the materials. Selecting a section of the product would present the material associated with that section. In the new version, it has become easier to find the materials that are available in the product. So it allows you to either search for a material that you have inside the product, and there's still an ability to select a material from the scene. So selecting an item will now select the correct material associated with that part, but also allowing you to choose each material section using the drop-down tab. So this makes it much easier to find the materials that are available on the product and adjust the settings of a material accordingly. The next section we have added is the views. Inside the view, you manage the background and the cameras that are available for that view. There's a new feature to have automatic cameras. The automatic camera calculates the camera position accordingly to the entire product. so either on the left, front, top, bottom, or right. So we will calculate the camera position automatically based on the selected view direction. With the automatic camera, you can still change the properties of the camera, of what the near, far field of view are, which controllers should be used, and each property of it. Should you desire to continue to use manual cameras, the camera gizmos will not be available in other tabs anymore. So every gizmo associated with a specific section is only presented in the Active tab. So once I'm inside the views, I will see the gizmos for all of the cameras that are currently available. In the previous version, to add a new camera, we had the Insert menu tab, where a new tab could be added. In a new version, we have the Add Camera, which provides you with the options of each camera that are available. It will allow you to select them and also again change the properties of each camera accordingly. In the View section, you also have the ability to change which background the product should be using. So if the background of the entire product is a color, you can set it to a specific color that is right. You can also change the colors accordingly to provide an image or a cube map, as before with every product. In the previous version, the place to change the cameras was under Selection of each view. In the new version, this can be found in a more obvious place. The next section is the lighting settings. In the previous version, we had the lights again under the current view, and everything was managed from inserting of the lights. You still have all of the options of the lights available. However, the lights will be presented only when the customer enters the Light tab. So each available light and the gizmos of those lights will only be presented when the customer is inside the Active Light tab. To add a new light, you can click the Add Light button to add new lights. Selecting lights will allow you to change the settings of each light with the same properties that you're used to. Also, under the lighting sections, we now have the Enable AO Plane, which enables the AO plane. In the previous version, the AO plane was an element that was added to the scene from the render options under the Insert map. In a new version, the AO plane has become an effect of the lighting scene under the Lighting tab. In the previous version, to add a new UX to the scene, for example, a new button, everything was managed under the same tab. So to add a new UX element, you would go to the UX tab and add the corresponding UI element that you want to add to the scene. In the new version, we have the UX tab, which only manages the UX elements. Again, inside this tab, each element that has been added to the scene will not be presented when other tabs are active. So we'll only present the active elements within that tab, and the management of these elements remains the same. So each element can be either selected from the list or inside the scene, and all of the available options are still present. Finally, we have the Assets map, which provides you with specific primitives, some effects, and some tools. Previously, under each active view, this was all presented in the same menu to add primitive elements, to have render elements, or to add tools. In the new version, we have the ability to select and do all of these same elements inside the Active tab of the Assets. Managing of the properties is just by selecting each element to be managed. Within all of the presented tabs, we also have the ability to delete an element or duplicate an element. So selecting a duplication button will duplicate the element to represent the same elements again, and you also have the ability to delete the elements that are inside.